Today's topic is mindfulness and shadow work. And we have a lovely human who's going to be speaking on this topic, Andrea Hummel. Um, she's actually a dear friend of mine. I call her Angel, which is angel in German. And I have tremendous respect for her, both personally and professionally. And I'm very pleased to have her share her wisdom with us today. And with that, Andrea, is there anything you want to add about yourself before you dive into the topic?
Um, no, I think we're good. I will, if it's okay with you, Heather, mention a few of the conversations we've had socially about the topic. Because it's always interesting how shadows come into our everyday life. It's not something that we decide we want to work on our shadows. It kind of weaves in and out of our life, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. And so, but of course, we have to first define what the heck is a shadow. And, it's so we're in the middle of summer, at least we are here in this hemisphere. And so we think, okay, a shadow is just something you see out there, something that you don't want to be in, something negative, something dark. Well, the interesting thing is we can have good shadows, quote, good or bad, golden shadows or dark shadows. So a shadow is essentially any part of your persona, any part of your personality that you reject. So if you think of it this way, as a child, as a 2 or 3 year old, you've got this wonderful, huge 360-degree personality. And there's all kinds of sides of you. You cry when you fall down, and you laugh when you're happy, and you're noisy when you're really involved in something. And we have all these beautiful sides of ourselves that are just shining. Now, what happens is as we grow up, we start suppressing parts of ourselves. For example, you fall down often enough and skin your knee, and what message do you hear? Big girls don't cry. Strong boys don't cry. You get angry because your brother hit you. You're not supposed to get angry. You get sad because your kitten died. Oh, come on, just get over it. So those are three examples: the anger and the sadness, and exuberance, all those sides of ourselves that we start suppressing, that we start, so to speak, putting into a bag behind us. Meaning those shadows are still with us, those suppressed sides are still there, but we're dragging them behind us. So it becomes a very heavy thing. And a lot of times we don't notice those parts of ourselves that we're no longer accepting. And they start to trip us up. And the more we try to push that anger aside, I'm talking specifically now for women, because women have been socialized in our society more so than men to not get angry, right? We're supposed to be smiling, we're supposed to be helpful, we're supposed to be positive, always loving. Well, the more we suppress that, what happens, it comes out sideways. So for example, someone runs a stoplight in front of you. What do? Sometimes you can get really angry because you've suppressed that for so long. And the other interesting thing is that those things that we've put into shadow for ourselves vary from one culture to another. In other words, they're culturally dictated, because parents or teachers or friends in, let's say, an Eastern culture would not think that those same things are bad. For example, if in this country we're supposed to be individualistic and stand up for yourself, you can imagine in Japanese culture, for example, they're less individualistic. So that side of yourself gets suppressed, and you're supposed to be more communal. So why a shadow is interesting or important to work with or think about or know about? Like I said, those are the kind of things that can trip us up. And especially those of us in the mindfulness community find that we need to be kind of clean filters. We need to be clean and clear in our interactions with others. And that's one of the values we have also to be very, very grounded, and to also be self-aware. So if we have these shadows kind of stuck, one shadow here, another there, they're all over us, even if we can't see them and notice them. They hinder us from being that clear channel that we really want to be. And so Heather and I were talking the other day about some of the kinds of shadows that we find most often in the mindfulness community, or in those of us who are light workers. And if you have the type of career where you're trying to integrate or combine mindfulness with making money, which we all need to be doing that to be able to put food on the table, a lot of times there can be a disconnect between wanting to be present, wanting to be clean, wanting to be, for lack of a better word, an engel, an angel. But on the other hand, sometimes there's things we need to do as professionals in order to be able to interact in the corporate world. So there could be a disconnect there. It's almost like schizophrenia. I think Heather, you used that term the other day, so I'm borrowing it from you. And so if we try to identify some of the shadows that we find among people working in this type of profession, in light workers, one of the additional ones would be, for example, that helping others is good. Healing others, being mindful is good. On the other hand, money is bad. Money is dirty. But how do you reconcile those two? Well, we really want to be helping each other. But on the other hand, we really need that money to be able to just put gas in the car. So you always feel like you're caught between those two. So which one is then in shadow? It's those things that we label bad or dirty or ugly. Now, like I said before, that's only a matter of definition. It's only the labels that this society has chosen to attach to certain qualities. We also are taught to always be happy and bright and positive, and negative emotions are bad. For example, being really stressed because you didn't land that gig that you wanted with that big company. Well, you know what? You just need to get over it. You need to, it shouldn't be bothering you. It's all for good. It's all going to work out the right way. So those are the messages that we tell ourselves, that tell us, that identify to us that we've put that in shadow. And also that we need to put other people before ourselves and kind of put ourselves in the background. So again, those will be the types of shadows that first come to mind when we talk about this topic. Well, okay. So now we know what a shadow is, and what do you do with it then? Well, we can't just talk about it. It's great to identify it. It's great to talk about it, have a conversation about it, but is that really going to get us any further? So some of the strategies that you can use when you're dealing with shadows is to accept them. Okay, well, that's fine and good. How do you accept that angry side of yourself when you've so firmly of the point of view that it's not a good thing? One of the things you can do is to notice those parts of your life where you are actually okay being angry. For example, one of the things I used to do when I was years ago, went through a difficult period of my life, I would go into the bathroom, into the shower actually, and throw things against the shower wall. So that's an expression of anger, right? It's a socially acceptable, so to speak, socially acceptable way, because it's not socially acceptable for me to go out and punch my neighbor. But if you can find parts of your life, areas of your life where you can express and fully embody those so-called negative sides of yourself, then that allows that voice and expression in such a way that it doesn't come out sideways in the rest of your life. It doesn't trip you up. So that will be one thing, to be able to identify which areas you are already doing it in a socially acceptable way, those things that you wanted to, those sides of yourself that you wanted to ignore. You can also lean into it. There can be circumstances in your life where it's actually good to be angry. You know, you can be angry at the dog that's the neighborhood dog that's taking a bite out of your child. Well, that's again an appropriate way in which to express that anger and fully feel that. So mindfulness is all about being in the present and being in the moment. And so when we are able to fully embody those rejected parts of ourselves, then that becomes another way to let them go through rather than get stuck in ourselves. And so then there are other ways you can also work on it on your own, through a more formalized process, whether you want to do some journaling on it, or do use a method like psychodrama, and what I actually use is improv for peace. And so it's, for lack of a better term, you could say, you take little objects and embody them with the emotion or the shadows that you are trying to suppress, and have a conversation with those parts of yourself, and find out, what does that part really want to tell you? Because a lot of times, if we've suppressed certain memories or certain feelings, then there was a reason for it. Our psyche at least thought there was a really good reason to protect ourselves. And so if we can get behind, find out what the message is, what that part of ourselves really wanted to tell us, then we can befriend that part. And so again, there's a lot of ways that you can deal with shadows. And I think that the biggest thing is just being aware of the fact that it's not necessarily negative. There's a positive. So I don't know how I'm doing time-wise, but I do want to at least talk about a golden shadow real quick. Are we doing fine on time? Okay, good. So a golden shadow might be that part of ourselves that is able to shine, that is able to give something back to the world, that is comfortable standing in the spotlight. And so for a lot of us, that's a difficult thing, because remember, you're not supposed to be in the spotlight all the time, because otherwise you're that person who could be labeled being in people's faces and just being being pushy and being a bully. But if we take that and actually see it as a positive, the standing in the spotlight side of ourselves, it becomes something that we're better able to do. So if we befriend, again, that golden shadow, it makes us better as mindfulness practitioners, as a practitioner who really is working with corporate America, who is able to say, I'm here, I have something to offer to you. I'm not just a quiet massage therapist. I am actually here with something that's extremely valuable to you and your business. So that would be, again, stepping into a golden shadow. And so we have a lot of those other sides too, that are not negative, but they're actually positive. So I keep coming back to saying they're just suppressed by our society. So the more you can integrate those sides of yourself, befriend them, even harness them, make use of them, the more effective they will be, and they will actually work for you rather than against you. Good. So that was all I was going to share with you today.
So what's your slide?
Oh, yeah. Right. So if you wanted more information, there's my contact information. And the website is improvforpeace.com. And what I have to share with you, if you wanted to email me, is self-test to get you on the path to identifying your own shadows. I also have some journal prompts that are a self-care exercise that you can do.
Andrea, we can't see your slide.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Um, and of course, I'm stuck in my screen. There we are. Okay. So can you share it from your end?
Yeah, I got you, honey. One sec.
Okay. So there you go. That's one of my shadows. I'm not good at technology.
You can't be good at everything.
That's true.
Okay, can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah. Can you all see it too? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it was. The self-test and the journal prompts. I can send you those if you share your email address with me. There's also an online group that are run pretty regularly. It's called Soul Gym, with the idea that if you, we exercise our body on a regular basis, we also want to exercise our soul and our mind on a regular basis. And if you want one-on-one coaching, there's that available too. So you got all that information on the website if you go to improvforpeace.com.